Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is a special, very special for me actually, presentation of the Metabolic Female. This is a professional education and certification that I am going to be launching, and you are going to be one of the first groups to ever get this training in this particular format. This is a brand new training combined from much of what I have done. Now I realize a lot of you don't know me. My name is Dr. JT. I'm going to tell you all about my story. But first, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. One thing I can promise you, you are going to get a lot out of this training. Let's get into the training and begin this education because I know it is going to be kind of earth-shattering for you. And when I started to figure all this stuff out, it definitely was earth-shattering for me. So sit back, grab your pen and paper, make sure you got some notes handy. We're going to be going through a lot of stuff today. First of all, I'm going to be introducing you to a simple framework that is going to help you deal with what I call metabolic dysfunction or resistance or compensation. You're going to learn all about how the metabolism does this. And when you're able to understand how the metabolism is specifically impacting the female metabolism and hormonal system to create dysfunction and weight loss resistance, you're going to be able to finally achieve permanent and lasting weight loss for your clients. And the other thing that's going to be really, really interesting, surprising, and going to make you just absolutely love this education as you look back on it, is going to make you one of the most in-demand and sought-after experts in our field, because I'm going to tell you right now, people simply do not know the information that I'm going to give you. And because they don't know it, they do not get great results, and they are failing their clients time and time again. Not only will you be a sought-after expert in terms of getting people results, but you're going to be a sought-after educator. We need as many of you as possible understanding this information, teaching it to your clients, and also teaching it to other professionals. So what I am hoping is you are going to be one of the first batch of individuals to get this information out to the wider public, to get them getting results, as well as teaching your fellow professionals. Now, look, one of the things I know is we're all busy, so I'm going to try to get through this, but we do have a lot to cover. Try to stick around until the end because I'm going to have a free gift for every single person who makes it through the end of this presentation. You're going to be immediately able to use this with your female clients. So whether or not you take advantage of the offer that I'm going to be giving to you at the end, I am going to give you an absolutely free piece of content that will make a big difference in the work with your female patients. Now, the first thing that you're probably thinking is this thing even possible? Is this promise possible? Because what I'm essentially telling you is you're going to be able to get better results than anyone else in this industry. And I mean that. I want you to kind of think about this for a minute. Imagine you showing up, and we know this is happening all the time. People talking about exercise and diet and supplements and all this stuff. And it can seem incredibly confusing to them. And it may even be confusing to you, but imagine you're the person in the discussion, or you're the person on social media, or you're the person on the podcast that people are listening to and saying, wow, this person really has got this figured out. And they are essentially coming to you, constantly consuming your content, wanting to sign up for your programs because you have an actual solution that works. Now, I want to just go ahead and show you right off the bat, because if you're anything like me, you're skeptical, and you should be very, very skeptical when you think about our industry. So I want to show you just right off the bat what we're talking about here. Now, look, this was a new mother, Denora, age 36, who had been struggling prior to, or after having her baby, and was able to go through this program in 12 weeks and make this kind of difference. This is a very troubling time for the metabolism post-baby, and we all know it can be incredibly difficult. Now, here is another woman, 51, one of the most difficult, if I had to say, by the way, and you probably would agree with me, but if I had to say what is the most difficult person to deal with, it's going to be a female in menopause. Everything changes for them, and they don't ever think they're going to be able to get their body back. So this is a woman, again, who lost 35 pounds using this system from a size 16 to a size 6. I'm going to be showing you throughout this presentation testimonial after testimonial. The reason I'm going to do that is because I want to show you how real this is. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I've had clients that, can lose 16 pounds or lost some baby weight. What about this, right? This is a woman who lost 107 pounds. And one of the things you're going to learn is that it is one thing to lose weight. It's not easy, but it's way easier to lose the weight than to keep it off forever. Now, this is a woman who has lost 107 pounds over 9 months and has completely changed the way her metabolism functions. Now, look, I've invested years of research in what I'm about to teach you, okay? I've got a degree in biochemistry. I have got decades of experience, and I have figured out this process that gets results. And I'll be honest with you, it's not just my education, okay? I have worked with, I'm thinking probably 10,000 in-person clients through groups and through one-on-ones. And when you consider all the programs I've sold, it's interesting and it's kind of humbling and amazing to think about this, but I have now sold over 1 million online programs geared towards females and their metabolism. This is basically helping women, building programs for women that get results. And part of me sometimes thinks about that number and I go, how is that possible? And I think the reason it's possible is because when something gets results, other people rush to it because it is so rare in this industry. And you are going to be one of these individuals that learns exactly the program that I have been using to sell millions and millions of copies of workouts and diet programs and books. Now, look, you might be wondering, hey, Jade, I don't know if I'm in the right place because it sounds like you're talking to professionals. So let me tell you who this is going to be best for, who I am thinking about in this education that I'm giving you today. If you're a doctor, a naturopathic doctor, a chiropractor, an osteopath, an MD, this program is for you. I have educated many doctors and gone to many conferences where I am the headline speaker teaching physicians. So if you are a physician, you are definitely in the right place. This is the information that you're going to need to help your clients. Now, if you're any other kind of healthcare provider who works in the weight loss space, acupuncturist, nutritionist, nurse practitioner, nurse, registered dietitian, this program is also for you. You are going to get this. It's also for fitness professionals and for health coaches. Now, the one thing that you might think that's really interesting here, because I know many people who go through my programs, come to my professional educations and wonder, and they say, hey, Jade, I don't have a background in this, but I want to get into it. Is it going to be way above my head? Well, this program is also for you individuals who are working with dysfunction in yourself, or anybody who's giving, their friends and family and other people information and advice on health and fitness. One of the things that I have found that you will get in this training is that there are simple ways to talk about metabolism that do not require all of the stuff about insulin and leptin and ghrelin and cytokines and myokines and incretins and brain chemicals. We don't need to be talking that language to individuals anymore, and I'm going to teach you why. And when you can talk in plain language and explain complex mechanisms in plain language to your clients and your patients and the people that you are working with, they are going to flock to you, they are going to pay you money, and they're going to get better results. And so this is for the doctors, the healthcare providers, the fitness professionals, the health coaches, anyone working with women who are having metabolic resistance, metabolic dysfunction, and not able to lose weight and keep the weight off. And it is also for any woman who is looking for their own education to figure this out for themselves. Now, if you learn and you follow the frameworks I'm going to give you, I can promise you it's going to help your clients get results. It's going to help your patients get the best results they have ever gotten. I can promise you that. And this is a system anybody, including the layperson, can learn and master with a little diligence. Now, I'll be honest with you here. For those who are professionals, this is going to be much easier for them to understand. if you are someone here who wants this education and you are a layperson, understand you can master this. You can learn this information, but you're going to have to pay very much attention and really pay attention to some of the things that I'm telling you. And I will say this for everybody on the line right now. For every single one of you, you have to understand you're going to have to put some of your preconceived notions away. And that shouldn't be difficult because I'm going to give you the data and the results and the research to show you why this is so powerful. Now, here's another example for you. This is a busy mom. Lost 66 pounds. This is Holly Campbell. Actually, Holly became a pretty good friend of mine. We've done lots of different interviews together as well. 66 pounds, 43 inches. One of the things about Holly, by the way, is Holly was a competitor in her younger days. She used to do fitness and figure competitions. And one of the things that happens that you'll get into the research and that you'll get in the actual certification that I'm offering at the end of this is an understanding of why repeat dieting can oftentimes make people's metabolism less healthy, less resilient, more rigid. And Holly, where she stayed lean in her younger years, she ended up having extreme difficulty in losing weight later on. And one of the things that I educated her on is that actually the weight loss cycling of losing weight and then gaining and losing weight and then gaining made her metabolism more and more resistant every time, to the point where nothing worked until she tried the system that I'm going to be teaching you today. So here's the thing. Your clients are really dealing with what I would call stubborn fat, right? It's not this thing where we're not talking about somebody who's never been on a diet before. We all know that someone can go on a diet, especially if they've never dieted before, and get pretty good results. What we're talking about here is the person who is, quote, you've heard that statement, I've been doing everything right and nothing works. Well, here's something to remember. If you're doing everything right and it's not working, then you're not doing everything right. And this goes for you as a coach or a physician or a doctor as well. You have to understand that if you're working with someone and you're not getting results, then you are using the wrong system, right? You're using the wrong system. The system should fit to the client and the patient, not the other way around. And so if someone's doing everything right, not getting results, well, then they're not doing everything right. You're going to need to think about that, and we all need to be thinking about that system that we've been using of eat less, exercise more, and what an abysmal failure it has been time and time again. This presents the opportunity for you in terms of being a leader in this field. It is a hugely important piece of this. And the other thing I'll say here is that, again, weight loss in the acute term is different than weight loss in the chronic term. It is hard to lose weight. It is near impossible to maintain that weight loss. And we're going to talk about why that's the case. So I want you to look for the proof that this framework works throughout this training. Like I said, I am wanting to show you all of the results and testimonials that I have gotten. And you're going to see more and more of them. I want you to think about this, right? Think about what it would be like. And I'll tell you a funny story. I get asked this a lot because I'm an expert in this field and I've been doing this for a very long time. And people oftentimes ask me, they say, Jade, what's it like being in the weight loss industry? And what I tell them is I say, if you can imagine a situation where you fail most of the time, that's a lot what it's like. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, when I first started out in this industry using the standard model, I was getting, 10% results. If we're honest, we know that, it is very rare. I mean, we're working with people, but they don't change, right? And then even now, right? Even now with the best of the best, with this system I'm going to teach you, it's still very difficult because even with the right system, now we're talking about, okay, now people actually have to do it. Well, part of the thing is, what would it be like if you had a program, a system that actually worked and actually made it easier for people to follow? That's what I think you're going to find here. And so this idea, this frustration that happens when you're dealing with all these difficult patients and clients, think about maybe what would it be like, or what would you say if I told you the system that you're using is what's making it so frustrating? That's part of the big problem. And so I want you to imagine for a second, if you had a program that actually worked and was easy for people to follow and easy for you to understand and teach, what would that mean for your status as a professional? And what would it mean for your income? And what would it mean for all the possibilities? Writing books, building social media programs, workout programs, diet programs, being a sought after expert for radio and TV and podcasts. This is what this system holds for you. Now, I want to go through a little bit in a minute about my story, but one of the things you need to know about me is that I am an integrative doctor. My background is in naturopathic medicine. Now, it's funny, when I went into this field, this was back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, I was in school. And back then it was considered witchcraft medicine. I had no idea that alternative and complementary and integrative and functional medicine would even be a thing back then. I just knew that I wanted to take my training as a personal trainer and a nutritionist and teaching people that, and I wanted to do it at a deeper level. That's why I went the route that I went. Well, what's interesting about that is this integrative approach is actually what is needed and what you need to be thinking about as we look at weight loss. This is an integration of many different aspects: the nervous system, the immune system, the muscular system, the endocrine system. We call this the neuroendocrine immune system. All of this connection. And when you understand that, you start understanding why so many people are going wrong here. Now, I want to show you this because I want to show you the level of work that I have done in this arena. I want you to trust that who you're talking to, really, the reason I'm showing you this is not to brag. I want you to understand, all right, this dude has put together a huge body of work and that he knows what he's talking about. And I want to show you that, this is 8 books here that I've written. And my latest one, Next Level Human, or Next Level Metabolism, is down there on the right-hand side, lower right-hand side. That's coming out very, very soon. But the first one up on the left-hand side there, that particular book, The Metabolic Effect Diet, was a bestseller back in 2010. And this book over here on the right, the Metabolic Renewal Roadmap that went along with a workout program that I sold, is the one that is specifically designed for women. And this has sold more copies than pretty much all of my other books combined. And the reason I want you to understand that is because I want you to understand that this arena that you're getting ready to learn about is huge. There is tons and tons of people who need your help, and there is also tons and tons of money to be made in this arena. Now, Next Level Metabolism is going to be coming out soon, and this book has all of the latest science. What's interesting about that is way before this book ever comes out, you're going to understand the information in this book when you go through this training. Now, I am a leading expert in metabolism. I've lectured on metabolism all over the world, actually. UK, Spain, all over the United States, to all different types of medical organizations and personal training certifications, organizations that certify trainers. I've been a weight loss physician now for 20 years. I have a specialty in hormones, and I've been a trainer, 10, 15 years prior to that. And of course, I'm an internet entrepreneur. So I'm speaking to you from a perspective of not just understanding this material at a deep depth, but also understanding how you can position yourself to turn this into viable revenue. Here's one of the things you're going to understand from me, and hopefully we're all on board here. One of the things I learned very early on in my career, I was, sort of very much like, I just want to give everything away. And I did a lot of free stuff. You know what happened to me? I totally got burnt out. And what happened was I really realized I couldn't help as many people because I wasn't making enough revenue. And the more money I have made, now, the more people I have been able to help. And so I see these things tied. So when I talk about money and making money, I'm seeing it as the only way that we can help the large number of people that need to be helped. I need all of you. You need me, I need you, and we all need thousands and thousands of other professionals out there on the streets teaching this information at this level because there are so many people who need this. We know, you know, I know, anyone who's paying close attention knows this industry is failing its clients. It is not working. That is why my systems have sold so much. That is one of the reasons I've made so much money doing this. And it's going to be the reason why you are going to be so successful and you're going to be able to take your business to the next level as well. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the Metabolic Renewal Roadmap, because a lot of what I'm going to be teaching in this training and a lot of what you're going to get in the certification, as a matter of fact, all of what you're going to get in the certification plus a bunch more is in this particular training. And this was the first female-specific weight loss system that me and my publisher are aware of. It is also the best-selling female weight loss system out there right now. This is the first one that actually sold specifically to women, specifically for their hormonal concerns and the issues that face them. It is an individualized diet. I mean, think about this, right? Women are different than men. No duh, right? And every woman knows she goes through several different stages of life hormonally. Men don't have that same reality. And then, of course, every individual is an individual. So every woman is different than every other woman. So this is a program completely tailored to women and individualized to the individual person. And this has sold over 1 million online workouts. The system associated with this has been all over the place. That is a huge number. It is incredibly humbling to me, but it also should tell you that the demand for this and the fact that this continues to sell like crazy is huge for you. This information is needed and money is there for you to make a difference. Now, this is built specifically around the science of female hormones and the unique realities of the female metabolism. The female metabolism is different. And I'm going to give you one hint right off the bat. Which gender is the gender of childbearing and rearing? It's the female, right? And our metabolism was designed for 2 million years when you take into account all the different types of humans, Homo habilis, Homo sapien, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, all of these types. 2 million years our metabolism has been honed. The female metabolism being the gender of childbearing and child rearing means that it has a more sensitive, refined mechanism to detect stress. This is one of the first things you need to understand about women compared to men. The female metabolism is looking out there in the world constantly and saying, is it safe to have a baby? And if it is not, and it is stressful, it's going to want to store fat so it can basically take care of a baby next time. And it is going to want to hold on to that fat so that the mother and the baby will not starve. This is a big piece of the puzzle. So this system is going to teach you what is going on with women. To say men and women are the same is absolutely wrong. You are going to be one of the first professionals to be getting this right. And so when people are saying, oh, women should train the same as men, and there's really no difference or anything like that, you're going to be sitting there kind of smiling because you're going to know this is not true definitively. I have the information. If they want to say that, they can say that all they want, but they're not helping their clients and they need to get on board, and you're going to be the one to get them on board. Very few people in this industry know how to get results. Not even doctors. As a matter of fact, I would argue, and I don't want to offend anyone here, but I think if you're here, you already know the answer to this. Doctors, MDs, and even people in my world, naturopathic doctors, are abysmal in their ability to get people weight loss results. That's why you're here. And the information that I'm going to teach you has not been taught in medical schools. And it's not being taught to personal trainers either. Don't get me wrong. The only thing is that at least personal trainers know a little bit about some of the cutting edge exercise technology that most doctors have no idea about. But this stuff that I'm getting ready to teach you has not been taught like the way I'm teaching you. This information is just not out there yet. And it's certainly not in medical schools. Now, here's the statistics that you know. You don't need me to tell you this, by the way, but I'm just going to give you the numbers. 95% of people who try the standard approach, these women, 95% fail in the first year. And by the way, success means loss of 10% of body weight maintained over a year. 95% of people are not able to do that. By the second year, it falls to 97%. By the third year, 99.9% of women and men, for that matter, anyone who goes on the traditional stuff, but especially women, fail. In other words, even if they lose weight, by year 3, it is near impossible for them to keep that weight off. Now, the other thing to know is that more than 50 million US women are older than 50. And 75% of women between the ages of 50 and 55 are postmenopausal. Guess what the number one complaint is of postmenopausal women? Unexplained weight gain and weight loss resistance and dysfunction. They gain weight and don't understand why, and they can't lose weight, and they are looking for a solution, and no one has it. The doctors don't have it. It's not in the bioidentical hormone replacement. It's not in traditional hormone replacement. It's not in the group exercise world. It's not at Weight Watchers. It's not on keto diets and intermittent fasting. It's not on any of this stuff. Millions of women are in need of this solution, and especially this huge group of women in this age group, and this age group is only getting bigger. We need you at your post doing your job with the information I'm getting ready to teach. So is this training for you? It is. If you're a doctor or a healthcare provider, you need this training. And if you see women who come to you discouraged, trying to figure out why the hell they're gaining weight and they can't lose weight no matter what they do, this is for you. It's also for the personal trainer, obviously, because I know a lot of you are working with women who have metabolic resistance, and we'll talk about what that is. They do the right things supposedly, according to all the books and everything you're supposed to do. They can't get results. And by the way, these women are trying all the new stuff. They're trying the keto diet. They're trying the intermittent fast diet. By the way, the reason they're trying all this stuff is, guess what? Because nothing works. So they have to try something else. This is part of the issue here. Also, this is for you if you're just a female fitness enthusiast. If you've always been healthy, fit, lean, and you've hit the wall in terms of results, or you are someone who's always had issues with your metabolism, this is going to have information for you. And it's also going to have those elite types, you athlete types, because I know a lot of you show up for my trainings. This is a good training for you as well. You're going to get a lot out of this. So remember, I'm going to teach you the tools and the framework to get the results, not just with one person, not just with one group of individuals, not just with people who are in a position where they essentially look at you and say, I've got iron will. Most people don't have iron willpower. Most of these women that you're working with are busy, overwhelmed, and fed up with lack of results. You're going to be able to learn to work with them through this framework. Now, I've already kind of covered this for you, but the issue here is the question of, all right, this is all great, well and good, but I've got to make a living. And I know that there's a separate thing going on in many of your minds. Some of you are here. I would say all of you are here because one of the things I think about this industry, we have some of the most, people find this work because they want to be of service. They want to. So I know that's why you're here. That's why I'm here. But we also have this situation where we want to be able to make money doing this. And that can be difficult in an industry that is so incredibly saturated. And why is it so saturated? Because people are so fed up without getting results that they're always looking for something. Think about it. Nowadays, you can have some influencer online who has no training whatsoever, making money and clouding up the space and making noise and confusing people. And so I am going to teach you a little bit about how to enter into this niche and turn your business to a lucrative business. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I started training at 15 years old. Now, I know this is crazy. Personal training. I was writing programs for the guys and girls, in my high school, especially the guys and girls who were football players and cheerleaders. And then that turned into writing programs for their moms. So I was doing personal training and lifting from the age of 15 years old. I wasn't getting paid for it yet, and I didn't know it was going to turn into this situation where I've been training trainers all over the world for 10 plus years. But I started training, and guess who I trained most? Just like you guys, right? Who do we train most? Who goes and seeks trainers? Women. That's mostly the people that I was training. Now, the interesting thing about this is, again, even back then, I was training mostly women between the ages of 45 and 65, right? So when I finished high school and got into undergrad, these were the women that I started training. Once I started getting paid, these were the women that were showing up. The only problem is that during that time, guess who I was training these women like? These 45 to 65-year-old women, I was training them as if they were 20 and 25. This was what I was doing. Worse than that, I was training them as if they were me. This was me back in the day. I was, a 200-pound bodybuilder who was 6% body fat and was just crushing weights in the gym. And I was this ignorant, kind of arrogant guy who just thought if you weren't getting results, then you were, a sloth and a glutton, basically. You were lazy and you weren't doing what I told you to do. Now, I had a wake-up call kind of early on. This is right towards the end, right in the beginning of med school. I was training a woman and I was really pushing her through a grueling workout. And all of a sudden, I could see tears in her eyes. She just stopped and she was just sitting there tearing up. And I was like, what's wrong? And then she just went off on me. She just went off on me. She goes, I've been working with you for I don't know how many months. I come in here and all you do is yell at me the whole time, telling me to do this and that, treating me as if I'm a 20-year-old bodybuilding guy. And I remember what she said to me. She goes, how the hell can you help? She said, I'm not a 20-some-year-old bodybuilder. That's what she said to me. And she said, how the hell can you help me if you don't even understand me? And it really shook me up. You ever have one of these gifts where someone just goes the hell off on you and you just go, damn, they're right. They're right. Well, this was that moment for me. And this is when I really started my first hint, the first time I got a hint that, you know what? She's right. I don't understand. And at this point, I'd gone through biochemistry. I'd been studying all this stuff. And now I'm in medical school, learning at a very deep level. And of course, I'm immersed in the science of exercise and metabolism even before this, because I went into biochemistry to learn this stuff. So when I was in medical school, I was already deep into this. And what I realized is that, you know what? I don't know what the difference is between men and women. I don't even know what goes on with the menstrual cycle. I don't know. At that point, I hadn't had endocrinology and I hadn't had, some of the advanced subject matter. And I took it upon myself to start understanding what was going on with women. And one of the big things I figured out there is that women have a unique interaction with stress that's a little bit different than men. And the reason, and I won't even say a little bit different, much different, because women respond to stress, and you're going to learn this here in just a minute. They respond to stress differently depending on where they are in their menstrual cycle or in their stage of life. Their female hormones are playing a role in how they respond to stress. And so what I did is I started to incorporate this. I started having my clients walk and doing rest and recovery things. I started thinking about, okay, when they're in the gym, based on what I started to learn, I also need to have them recovering. I don't want them doing power walking and long cardio sessions and super intense, long duration. At that time, it was long duration cardio and long hours in the gym, right? Well, I started to realize that I needed to do things a little bit different. I learned about shorter duration, higher intensity workouts long before interval training was a big deal, long before CrossFit sort of came out. This was way before this sort of short duration, high intensity trend. As a matter of fact, me and my brother Keone were some of the chief educators teaching people about that. And I started to combine sort of shorter duration workouts with sort of walking and that kind of stuff. And I started to see much better results than I had seen before. So things started to change. But of course, this isn't about exercise. I also needed to pick up on the hormonal aspects, the medical side of this equation, and the nutrition and supplemental side of this equation. And what happened to me is right towards the end of my medical career, I started to get better results, or my career in medical school. I started to get better results, but it was one woman, and it's actually my mother, who showed me and taught me sort of one of the final lessons that I needed to learn. And, it's funny, it's been so long since I've graduated. People always ask me, I'm 47 years old, by the way, so I'm basically, approaching 50. And so now I'm remembering as I'm talking to you, like, actually, this was at the end of medical school. I was already out of medical school in clinic at this time. But anyway, my mother was always lean, never had any issues with weight loss at all. Well, she started to hit menopause. She went into menopause a little bit late, but she started to hit menopause and kind of blew up. She kind of blew up like a balloon. She started to gain weight out of nowhere. And by this time, I believed her. Now, if she had caught me 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have believed that she was struggling the way she was struggling. I would have been like, Mom, what are you eating? But this time I believed it because I'd seen it so many times in my other clients. And one of the things that I did is I said, okay, I know what to do here. I've been working on this. We're going to get you walking. We're going to do these high intensity interval training. We're going to go low carb, all these things that I had kind of learned. And guess what happened? Not only did she not get results, and by the way, my mom, if I tell her to do something, right, she's one of these people that does it. She did everything I told her. Not only did she not get results, she got worse. She was telling me, Jade, I don't feel good. I'm fatigued. Like, I've gained weight, and it was coming around my belly. I've never had this, but now I'm feeling swollen in the face and everything else. And I just couldn't figure this out. And then one day, when I was sitting there, I hung out. We went out. My mom loves going to like these rummage sales. I don't know how your guys' mom does. Every mom love going to TJ Maxx and Marshalls and rummage sales and stuff like that. Anyway, she roped me in one day to go with her on this long ass day where we're basically going to rummage sales and doing all this stuff. And I'm talking to her the whole day and watching what she eats. And I sit there and watch her eat basically 2 cantaloupes for breakfast, a ton of avocado, right? Bunch of salads and avocados and nuts and seeds and all this kind of stuff. All the stuff that I've been telling her to do, lots of protein, but not a whole lot of starchy carbs and all this kind of. And I also was talking to her about how fatigued she's been. And she said after the workouts that we would do, she'd be fatigued for days. And so I made, a shift. What I did is I said, Mom, you know what I want you to do? I want you to cut back on some of this fat. I want you to add carbohydrates back in. And we're going to shift your workouts a little bit more towards less of this very short, very intense stuff and more walking, more Tai Chi. She started to do yoga, and we moved her more to traditional weight training and did some supplemental stuff. Well, guess what happened? My mom, all of a sudden, everything turned around. Now, the reason why this story is important is because everything that had been working with me with women in perimenopause and a little bit younger did not work for my mom. And I had seen this before, but a little bit of my ignorance and arrogance was still there, thinking, well, I really know now. So these women not getting results, it must be their fault. And then my mom, once again, put me in my place and said, no, you don't have it figured out. And what she taught me is that every single woman is different. So it was the beginning of understanding not only are menopausal women different, but every single woman is different. It was the beginning of me figuring out that there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all diet and exercise and nutrition and lifestyle program. Each woman is unique. So not only did I have to figure out that women are different than men, no duh, I had to figure out that a pregnant woman has a different reality than a normally menstruating 25-year-old athletic woman who has a different reality than a perimenopausal woman who has a different reality than a menopausal woman. I had to figure all this out, and my mom was the first one to help me do that. And what I started to understand that you'll learn is that every single woman or client, anyone, but we're talking about women today, has a unique physiology, psychology, personal preference, and practical circumstances. This is what I call the 4P framework, and you will learn this in my training certifications. You have got to, when you have a woman in front of you, you need to understand their physiology, their psychology, their personal preferences, and their practical circumstances. Now, I'm going to focus a lot today on the physiology aspect of this, but I need you to understand that these 4 things are absolutely critical. You cannot get results for people without understanding this. You especially, though, cannot get results if you don't understand that the women in your life that you are training and working with, or if you're a woman yourself, you have a unique physiology that is very different than a man. Now, obviously, your psychology, personal preferences, and practical circumstances are very different for you. But your physiology, there are some commonalities based on where you are as a woman that you need to understand. And of course, you have your own genetics and makeup as well, but you need to understand what is going on with this physiology. And so once I figured all of this out, that was the beginning of the metabolic renewal system. That was the beginning of the metabolic female certification that you are going to learn about. And all the trainings I've been doing with doctors, nutritionists, personal trainers for the last 12 years or so. This is what allowed me to get the results and become so popular in this world. This is what I call metabolic weight loss. So what the hell is metabolic weight loss and how does it work? Now, you're obviously saying, Jade, you're sitting here telling me, you should be thinking anyway, you're sitting here telling me you need a system, but you're also telling me that it's a system that is different for every single woman. And that is true. And I use this system I call structured flexibility, another framework that you will learn when you take my certifications, that we're going to teach you a structure to apply. Because let's face it, your clients need a structure. They need a good starting place, right? Do they not? They need a good starting place. Then they need to be able to be flexible for their physiology, their psychology, their practical circumstances, and their personal preferences. This is absolutely huge. Now, if you want to be that go-to expert that people count on to get results, you need to understand structured flexibility, because think about it. Every single other person who's doing this is in a position where they're doing one size fits all equations for everyone. So now I want you to picture you're sitting down there looking at a person who's working with you, and you see that they're a woman, and you go, ooh, I know that women need a particular structure that is different than perhaps a male structure. And I also understand that this woman, based on her age and her hormonal reality, needs a particular structure. And then picture you being able to, once you begin the process with the structure, to begin to tweak, adjust, sleuth, and make this system mold to your client. So you're not trying to mold her to a program. You're actually building a program for her. This is the flexibility part. Imagine being able to do this for every single woman. Every single woman comes to you, true, individualized, metabolic weight loss. This is what I did with Lisa. And I want you to notice something. This is a menopausal woman. Look at her results. Here's another one, Martina, 55. This is a menopausal woman. Look at the results. And look at this one. 42 years old, perimenopausal woman. 51-year-old perimenopausal woman who lost 42 pounds. And she loved the program. Who would have thought 42 pounds could be this fun? She used this system. And look at the difference. Look at the menopause belly. This looks like a 50-year-old turned into a 25-year-old in this picture. And this is the kind of stuff that you will actually begin to see. Here is another woman who struggled mightily to lose her belly after her pregnancy. So here's these two incredibly difficult groups of women, those who deal with pregnancy and those who deal with menopause, getting fantastic results using the system that I'm going to teach you. Now, there's 3 secrets to this system. First thing we're going to go through today is the model of achieving lasting weight loss success through this framework of the female metabolic dysfunction and how to treat it. Metabolic dysfunction, metabolic resistance. Then we're going to talk about how to use that knowledge to become in demand. And then we're going to talk about how to make more money off of this. One of the things I want to tell you, though, is that when I first dove into this, the science was completely outdated. As a matter of fact, the cookie cutter solutions were just ridiculous. You've seen them, right? We all know what they're like. I mean, you've seen all of them. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, all these things. By the way, these programs, it's not that they don't have some utility. The reason they fail is because they treat all women the same. Imagine how frustrating it is for our clients to be doing what they're doing and going back and forth from all these programs and thinking it is all about them and their willpower. That's essentially what people are treating them like. And one of the things that I was shocked by, I had been looking at this research, by the way. I started looking at it right around this time, actually. Around 2001 is when I got my first thing I needed to really figure out women to help my clients. And guess what? That was the year that regulating bodies actually started saying, you know what, guys, women have been underrepresented in all the research on metabolism. We need to catch up. So the reason why you've heard women should train the same as men and there's no difference in the way because we weren't studying women. Everything was being extrapolated from 20-some-year-old men, college-age boys. That's one of the major reasons here. You're going to learn something different. And by the way, that hasn't really changed. So when we talk about this model, the model that the people were using is first they were using calories. Calories only, calories are everything. Well, guess what? Today, they're always talking about hormones, everything, hormones, everything. The truth is, and what you're going to learn today is that metabolism, you can't separate calories and hormones. Metabolism is both. They are synergistic. They are not opposite. It's not quality over quantity. It's not quantity over quality. It is both. It is both. So what are we talking about when we talk about compensation and resistance and metabolic dysfunction? Well, the first thing we need to ask is, how does metabolism really work? You probably think metabolism is like a chemistry set. All about hormones. Mix insulin in this, put insulin here, you get the right mix of hormones and you'll lose weight. Or maybe you're someone who thinks it's just all about calories. Get the total daily energy expenditure, make sure they're eating the right amount of food, make sure they're burning a certain amount of calories, and they're going to get their, sort of work done. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's some truth to the calorie model and there's some truth to the hormonal model. The metabolism does work a little bit like a calculator. It does operate a little bit like a chemistry set. But the reason it's neither of those is because the metabolism is something very different. It is adaptive and reactive. The metabolism is not a static, predictable, linear thing. It changes, and it is changing constantly. So when we talk about distress, dysfunction, and disease in the metabolism, we are really talking about the metabolism as a stress barometer. It's like a pressure gauge. It's looking out there in the world and it's measuring stress. And what we don't understand yet is that you're going to understand this, but what people out there in the world teaching this stuff don't understand is that eating too little and eating too much is a huge stress for the metabolism. Both. Exercising too little and exercising too much is a stress for the metabolism. Plus all of the other thing, processed foods, changing the microbiome, emotional stress, overwork and overwhelm, constantly going, sleep deprivation, all of these are stress. This is how it works. Now, obviously, the metabolism has several different gauges. If you get the Goldilocks zone, if you get it just right, if you eat the right amount of calories and have the right balance of hormones and exercise just enough but not too much, you'll move into eustress when you exercise or when you stress the body. And eustress is a good form of stress. It's able for the body to get a little bit of a stress but then recover and get stronger and adapt. But when stress continues and continues and continues, it moves from eustress into distress, into dysfunction, and into disease. And so when we think about what is metabolic dysfunction is when the metabolism gets stuck in distress, dysfunction, and disease. It is chronic, unrelenting stress that is causing this problem. And we have to understand that telling someone to do an extra hour on the treadmill who is stuck in this situation is not helping them overcome this metabolic stress. It is just not helping them. It's not going to be what we want to have happen. Think about it like this. Whenever you're working with your clients right now, think about the gap between calories in and calories out, whether it's too much food and too little exercise or too much exercise and too little food as a stress. This stresses out the stress barometer. And then that also then causes the metabolic dysfunction. And we also have to talk about a very inconvenient truth when it comes to all of this. What women are doing that they think is working and what you, unfortunately, and I'm not pointing fingers because I was doing the same thing here, but what you are doing, unfortunately, including the intermittent fasting and all the stuff that's in fad today, including all that stuff, what you are doing too, what we are doing collectively in this industry is also working against these women in metabolic dysfunction. I want to show you something real quick. This is a study taken from Herman Ponzer, PhD at Duke University, who's an expert in the science of metabolism. This is, if you look over here on the left, you'll see total daily energy expenditure, the amount you burn in a day through activities and resting and all that kind of stuff. And then you can see minutes running 4 times per week. And by the way, substitute anything you want in here. Minutes of CrossFit, minutes of hot yoga, minutes of rowing, minutes of Pilates, minutes of whatever. You can substitute anything you want in here. What we think happens is that we get this blue line, this expected burn, and you burn off all these energy. We think it's additive. Well, the metabolism doesn't work like that. I just told you it's adaptive and reactive. So it it pulls back. And what you think you're burning, you are not. And the resting energy expenditure not only does not change, but it goes down slightly. So not only are we hurting people when we are telling them exercise more, we are actually just running their bodies into the ground and not understanding how the metabolism actually works. Here's what we think happens. You start here, right? Two people sitting, and then one person begins to exercise. We think this is what happens. We think that the activity burn starts to take over and they burn more overall energy during the day. In fact, this is actually what happens. This is what we mean by metabolic distress and dysfunction. Stress does this to the system. And I really shouldn't even call it stress because it is a normal adaptation to stress. This is not the metabolism being broken. This is the metabolism doing exactly what it does. And so exercising someone more is working against them, is totally working against them. Now, here's something that's even more insidious. I want you to pay attention to this graph, this colored graph down here in the lower right-hand side. This is a study on women, menopausal women. This is who we're talking about, but this has been shown in all groups, including men, but mostly in women. This is a group of women who were told not to change your diet. We just want you to exercise for weight loss. We want you to keep your diet the same, and we want you to exercise. And what they did is they had these women, this is essentially running on a treadmill, 30 to 45 minutes, 3 different groups, right? So 30, 45, and 60 minutes 5 times per week. That is a lot of exercise for these menopausal women. Think about that. Some of them were exercising up to 5 hours a week running. What they showed is that 26% or 25% of these individuals, that's that blue line going down, lost weight, 25%. Now, what they showed is that 50%, the green and the red there, saw no change at all given all that activity. But then another 26.6% of these women, without changing their diet, trying not to change their diet, actually gained weight as a result of this intervention. Basically, they got fat from running. Why? They got fat from running because of what I just showed you. The metabolism does not work additively. It constrains its energy output and it makes you hungry. And many of these women, although they tried to stay on the same diet they were always doing, they got so hungry that they began to overeat as a result of this. Now, anyone who's ever watched a friend or family member who was overweight going to a marathon running training program to try to lose the weight and seen them not change whatsoever or gain weight has seen this. And there's one hint here. You might say, well, Jade, how come runners then are so lean? Guess why that is? Because runners at the elite level who get results, they don't look the way they look because they run. They run because of the way they look. This is what research shows. Let me say that again. When people lose weight, women who are runners who have lost weight, the vast majority of them don't look the way they look because they run. They run because of the way they look. In other words, their unique physiology and genetics discovered that they were good at running, that they liked to run, that they would get good results from running. And based on this study, that's only about 25% of women. The other 75% either see no change from it at all or actually are worse off. And this is why you need to be taking this training. This you need to understand if you're going to help your clients. Now, here's another thing. Look at all these, the Hadza, these two. The Hadza are a hunter-gatherer tribe, and I don't know how to pronounce this other one, Shamani, I think. The Shamani is another hunter-gatherer tribe. And then you look at normal men and women in Japan, Ghana, US, Jamaica, South Africa, Netherlands, etc. And what you're looking at on the left-hand side is physical activity per day. Now look at how the Hadza and Shamani totally blow us away in energy expenditure in terms of physical activity every day. But then look over here and see what the total daily energy expenditure is and see how it's no different whatsoever. You might go, Jade, how is this possible? Because the metabolism constrains itself. You think you're burning all this energy. You actually are not, because the metabolism pulls back and conserves. I call this the metabolic governor effect. Just like this governor that you put on a car. A lot of people don't know this term, but you know those buses, the school buses, they don't go over 55 miles per hour because they put a governor on them to keep the engine from revving fast enough so it can only go a certain speed. Well, this is the metabolic equivalent of the governor effect. So the metabolism doesn't actually work the way you think it does. This is one of the major reasons why you're not getting results. Not only that, we have this study here looking at women who aren't even overweight and looking at how the hormonal effects of stress actually cause fat to build up on the belly. And it's a very specific hormonal milieu, hormonal situation, a hormonal fingerprint. Excess stress in women, which could be eating more, or eating too much or eating too little, exercising more or exercising too little, and all the stress that we think about, emotional stress, work stress, child stress, all that stuff. These women have a unique hormonal fingerprint. Insulin is up with cortisol, estrogen is down, progesterone is down further, and testosterone is slightly up. We know that these women, thin women with high waist to hip ratios, meaning thin women even with belly fat, we know that it's not a calorie phenomena as much as it is a hormonal phenomena. So not only does the calorie model not work the way we think it works, but the hormonal model doesn't work exactly the way we think it works either. The hormones are not one particular hormone. They work in a symphony. You can't just cut out carbs, lower insulin, and expect that to make a difference for your female clients, because doing that stresses out the system, raises cortisol, which then, by the way, raises insulin, and then estrogen and progesterone get impacted, and testosterone does too, and you end up with this situation. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, you're going to learn all of this. Don't worry. But the point here is we don't understand metabolism the way we think we do. And when I say we, I mean the weight loss industry. You're going to understand it at a whole different level now. Now, to lose weight, we need two things: a calorie deficit and hormonal balance. You don't want a fast metabolism. Let me say that again. We don't want our women to have a fast metabolism, because a fast metabolism, we've just seen, does what? Causes the metabolic governor effect, causes fast hunger. Fast metabolism means fast hunger. Speeding up your metabolism means speeding up hunger and cravings. You don't want that. What you want is a flexible metabolism. You want a stress barometer that can handle the stresses that it is under and not trigger the ancestral unconscious starvation response, which is being triggered in many of our clients and patients. And unfortunately, many of us are actually triggering that effect in the things that we're telling them to do. Intermittent fasting in someone who has metabolic dysfunction may seem like the thing to do. And by the way, if they could go out and live in the natural world and not overcompensate with food, it might be. The fact of the matter is, in the real world, oftentimes extreme dieting measures of avoiding food end up in extreme dieting measures of consuming too much food. And this binge and sort of burn type of situation that many women get in, actually in research is showing to be a causative effect of an inflexible metabolism. So instead of trying to speed up the metabolism, we want to be thinking about creating a more flexible metabolism. Well, how do we do that? We start to realize that there are different metabolic toggles we can pull. Obviously, we know this one, the eat less, exercise more toggle, the dieter. And we know this one too, the couch potato model, the eat more, exercise less model. Most people ping pong back and forth between these two things like crazy. Most of us are using the dieter approach, and we don't realize that by doing that, we're causing this metabolic governor effect, we're causing these negative hormonal changes, we're speeding up hunger and cravings, and we're forcing people to go back to the couch potato effect. I was doing this to my mom. I was pushing her so hard, she got so tired and so hungry, and she was overeating cantaloupe. I never even thought that was possible, that you could overeat cantaloupe. But she was overeating the foods, even healthy foods, because I was stressing out her system so much. She stayed away from everything I told her to stay away from. She just overconsumed all the other good stuff at huge levels because she was so tired, so fatigued, and her metabolism was so deranged. So what do we do to get flexible? Well, we have other options here. We have the hunter-gatherer protocol, or the traditional European protocol that no one actually knows about and isn't being used. It's called the eat less, exercise less approach. And it is a natural way to move around the way hunter-gatherers do. Eat just enough, but not too much. Balance the stress, the calorie gap. Reduce the stress on the metabolism. And guess what happens? the weight begins to fall off many of these people. We also have the athlete model, the eat more, exercise more model. If you're going to be putting out all this activity, you got to add calories back in as well. And this does things to the hormonal system. But this is just the beginning of it. We don't just want to know that these different toggles exist. We want to be able to use them and bounce back and forth between them. We want to know that, for example, research shows that if you do the eat less, exercise more model for more than 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to start creating stress on the system. That if you do the couch potato for more than 4 to 7 days, you are going to have a situation where you force feed the body. For example, guess what happens when lots of these coaches trying to help their clients do cheat meals and reward meals? Oftentimes, those cheat meals and reward meals turn into cheat weeks and cheat months, and reward months and reward weeks because of the hormonal situation that causes. We need to understand this. Now, Denise is an example of someone who used this approach in my system to get the belly weight off. Maggie's another one that I just think is fantastic. Maggie never really had a physique that any of us would look at and be like, she looked great from the get-go. But Maggie could not stand her, what she called her muffin top and her, the situation that happens around the love handles. She could not get rid of that no matter what she did. And without changing anything, she actually exercised way less. Look what happened to her physique. She actually ended up easily taking that off just by managing stress and also learning this metabolic toggle system. And of course, this is one of my favorites because this was a colleague. This is an individual using this approach who lost over 100 pounds, moving from all that exercise to just 15 minutes 3 times a week and this hormonally balanced lifestyle and diet plan that you actually will learn to put together for yourself, individualized for every single one of your patients. Now, here's a person, Kathy Fisher, who took this actual certification, this training that I'm going to give you. You're going to be one of the first people to get this training from me, to be offered this training in this way, in this certification. You're going to be one of the first people certified in metabolic female metabolism. You're going to be an expert in female metabolism and certified in this. Kathy was one of the individuals who took this female course back when I first did it live a year ago. And this is what she has to say on this. Now I want to cover perhaps the most important aspect of female metabolism. This you have to know if you're going to work with women. You need to understand the biochemistry and physiology of estrogen and progesterone. I'm going to make this super simple for you. The way to think about estrogen and progesterone is as twin sisters, non-identical. And the reason I say twin sisters is because they are completely reliant on one another. Estrogen primes the progesterone receptors. Progesterone primes the estrogen receptors. Estrogen needs to circulate a particular way in the beginning of the cycle so that progesterone can dominate in the second half of the cycle. And so they are 1000% reliant on one another for their function. Yet at the same time, they don't do the exact same things. And so they're twin sisters, but non-identical. Now, estrogen is the sister that is the rambunctious sister, the adventurous sister, the entrepreneurial sister, the athletic sister, the sister that wants to go out and explore the world and get her feet dirty and her hands messy and chase the world and experience all of the things. But her little sister wants to protect her and make sure that she's not getting in too much trouble. So progesterone is the twin sister that is the calming sister, but the worrying sister, the future-oriented sister, the one that says, let's not get in too much trouble. Let's be a little bit careful. Let's plan a little bit. And this makes sense because one of the things you need to understand is at ovulation, when a woman ovulates, Prior to ovulation, from the first day of bleeding to ovulation, there's very little progesterone. In fact, a woman will have the same amount of progesterone roughly as a male. It's ovulation and the formation of what's known as the corpus luteum after the egg leaves the follicle and the follicle becomes the corpus luteum that progesterone starts to dominate. Now, estrogen has an interesting effect on insulin and making women a little bit more insulin sensitive. But progesterone has the opposite effect. It tends to make the body a little bit more insulin resistant. Now, why would this be beneficial to do? Well, because progesterone knows that a baby is potentially coming, and the female metabolism is built for this reality. And so progesterone says, hey, let's be careful, let's calm down, let's be a little bit more future oriented, and let's save some sugar and some fats and things like that in case we have a baby that is going to come along and we need to support that baby. And so estrogen is sort of the growth oriented sister, the resilient sister, the one that wants to chase and build and go, go, go. And progesterone is the calming sister, the one that wants things to relax and be calm and plan for the future. And so estrogen and progesterone both handle cortisol, and so they both help the body manage stress. But estrogen blocks insulin and makes you more insulin sensitive, or makes a woman more insulin sensitive, and progesterone has the opposite effect. If you want to understand how this works, think of Joan of Arc in a suit of armor with a shield. Well, the suit of armor is estrogen. It makes a woman more insulin sensitive and less cortisol reactive. Progesterone is more like the shield. It has an opposite effect on insulin, so it's not as powerful as estrogen, but it adds to estrogen's cortisol blocking effects and may even dominate in that regard. And so this is how to understand estrogen and progesterone. It's a critical understanding. A simple way, by the way, to measure hormones without testing, to understand the balance between estrogen and progesterone and how they impact insulin and cortisol and other hunger hormones and human growth hormone and all these other things, you don't need a test to do this. In fact, what a lot of practitioners don't understand is that even if you had a test, blood test, Dutch test, any of these salivary tests, urine tests, anything like this, it's still very difficult to determine the balance between estrogen and progesterone with these tests. But we have actually biofeedback in every single woman. They have biofeedback that actually tells them how their hormones are functioning. And it goes by this acronym called SHMEC. And it stands for sleep, hunger, mood, energy, and cravings. This is a hormonal indicator. When the SHMEC is in check, estrogen and progesterone are most likely in balance and managing stress appropriately. When SHMEC is out of check, you can rest assured that the female metabolism is dealing with issues. And this is very, very critical to understand. Now, my colleague, Dr. Anne-Marie Nguyen, she took this training that you are taking, and I'm going to make an offer for you a little bit later on the metabolic female. And this understanding and this ability to measure hormones outside of doing laboratory testing, so she could check in with her patients and, more importantly, have them check in with themselves, was critical. And she basically says here, I appreciate that Jade's teaching are not one size fits all, but instead honor the individual differences of each patient. And this is what SHMEC allows you to do without testing, without doing blood testing or invasive testing. You can see how each individual woman is responding. Now, one other thing that I want to teach you here before we get on to the rest of this training is the menstrual cycle. One of the things is it's oftentimes seen as a pain, right? A lot of women don't like it, or people will blame certain aspects on it, or, oh, I have my menses. But what we need to understand is that it's actually maybe one of the more powerful and beneficial things that a woman can work with. Estrogen dominates in the beginning of the menstrual cycle for the first 2 weeks. And then the middle of the menstrual cycle, ovulation happens. During that first part of the menstrual cycle, the follicle, which contains the egg, is developing under the influence of a hormone called follicle stimulating hormone. So we call this phase the follicular phase. And after this 2 weeks, you get ovulation due to a surge in a hormone called luteinizing hormone, or LH.
At that point, the follicle becomes the corpus luteum and you begin to secrete progesterone. Well, estrogen and progesterone have receptors all over the body, not just in the uterus and ovaries, but also in the brain and the fat tissue and the muscle tissue. And in the brain, estrogen turns on things like dopamine and serotonin to make you relaxed and self-assured and focused. And in the brain, progesterone turns on things like GABA that help you relax, to help a woman relax. And so understanding SHMEC and understanding how these progesterones impact during the menstrual cycle allows women to build their training, their exercise, and their lifestyle around this. For example, here's one option of training and eating more and exercising more during the follicular phase when estrogen dominates, or eating less and exercising less in the luteal phase when progesterone is dominating, using these twin sisters' natural way of functioning to actually get better results in a very cyclical way. We also can do this a different way, where during menses and premenses, when progesterone and estrogen are both fairly low, we're taking it easy and we're doing more of an EL type approach. But then right around ovulation, before and after the week of ovulation, we're doing lots of training and eating more and exercising more. And this depends on the woman, and you will learn which of these two to employ based on the woman that you're dealing with. And it becomes a very powerful thing for younger women. Of course, when it comes to menopause and perimenopause, you lose progesterone during perimenopause and estrogen starts to be very volatile. There's a way to address that. Of course, at menopause, you both lose estrogen and progesterone. And so we need to teach the woman how to be more of a mother to herself and not overdo exercise. Exercise and diet that may have worked for her before perimenopause and menopause no longer may. These are all very critical aspects of things. Now, the other thing that we want to cover here, this is secret number 2. Now, I know I covered a bunch of biochemistry there. I wanted to give you some real things that you could use right now with this training without having to go through the certification. And I hope I gave you that powerful stuff. But I know the other aspect of this is how to use your knowledge to be a highly in-demand and respected authority who gets results. I need you doing this work. The traditional way of doing this has not worked, and the industry needs you teaching this stuff and getting women results. And when you start to learn this information, you begin to become a very valued expert in this field. Not only will your status go up with people wanting you to teach them and understand and consume your content, but right along with that, your money goes up. The right certification, this is something a lot of people don't know. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. The right certification will increase your income by 50% or even more because it can get you in-demand speaking gigs, jobs in content creation, jobs consulting, massive referrals as well. You will begin to be seen as the premier expert for female metabolism. You are going to have professionals wanting to learn this information from you. Not only will you be in a position where you are a trainer or a coach, but you can now be a consultant and an educator. This is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle for us as we begin as professionals to have multiple streams of income. Here's one individual who took this certification, who is an elite trainer, a group fitness instructor, and a 500K influencer. And she uses these techniques constantly to educate people. You can see she's not one thing, she's 3 different things. And she has this understanding to help her be a sought after expert. Here's another individual, Brad Davidson, who's an elite female performance coach. He used to train CrossFit women and different athletes in different sports. And he didn't necessarily always have the tools to train them according to their cycle, to understand how estrogen and progesterone were impacting their performance. Now he does, and now he lectures all over the place on these types of educational materials, on the stuff that you just learned. And here's another woman, Ashley Cast, who is a master trainer and movement coach, who is constantly being hired by wellness centers to help them set up their weight loss systems, especially around the things you just learned about female metabolism. Ashley works now with celebrities. She works as a consultant, and she helps build out these exercise, diet, and lifestyle weight loss programs for companies all over the country. Now, the third piece here that we want to talk about is not only did I just give you all this great information you can use and teach you how this makes you an in-demand expert, but you might be wondering, okay, Jade, this sounds a little bit crazy. How in the world can I 4 times my income? Well, think about it this way, right? That if you want to be the best at something and you want to be an extraordinary person at what you do, there are 2 paths to do this. One, you could become the best at one specific thing, the best in the world at one specific thing. That is pretty damn hard to do. Or you can become very, very good at 2 or more things. And metabolism plus female hormones. There are very few experts in metabolism. There are so many people who are getting it wrong, as I've demonstrated. I've already given you the tools to know metabolism better than 90% of the people out there. Now add on to that understanding female hormones, and you operate in the 1 percentile of professionals. This can make a huge difference. So you take 2 areas of expertise that are rare to find paired together, and then you have a niche for yourself that very, very few people can even approach. Scott Adams of Dilbert, he has been extremely successful with this cartoon, and he is the one where this comes from. He says, if you want something extraordinary, you have 2 paths. Become the best at one, which is almost impossible, or become very good at 2 or more things, which is actually fairly easy. In my case, I can draw better than most people, but I'm hardly an artist. And I'm not any funnier than the average stand-up comedian who never makes it big, but I'm also funnier than most people. The magic is that few people can draw well and write jokes. It's the combination of the 2 that makes what I do so rare. And when you add in my business background, suddenly I have a topic that few cartoonists could hope to understand without living it. Capitalism, this is important here, capitalism rewards things that are both rare and valuable. You make yourself rare by combining 2 or more pretty goods until no one else has your mix. So think about this. No one understands metabolism like you do. There are so few people who get it, and almost no one understands female metabolism. Then add on to that your other areas of expertise, your unique personality, your training or nutrition background, and you become an entity that no one else can duplicate. That is how you do this. It is extremely powerful when a personal trainer goes to an online trainer, goes into being a nutrition coach, goes into being a consultant in female hormones and metabolism. This is very difficult for anyone to replicate and sets you apart in a very huge way. Danny Coleman is an example of this. So he says here, on a professional level, that program resulted in a huge increase in pay and credibility. Before the course, I was just a local personal trainer making around $23,000 a year. And now I make near 6 figures in a director of coaching position. Danny took the Metabolic Female course. This set him apart. When he went in for his interview, the interviewers immediately recognized he was on a whole other level and knew things that no one else did. And this set him apart. Same thing here with Natalie Newhart. Prior to doing the female metabolism course, she was just a regular old CrossFit coach and competitor. Now add on to that the ability to cycle her training programs with the knowledge of metabolism and the menstrual cycle. And all of a sudden, not only did her results change, but also she began to be able to get the same kind of results for other women in a unique way, creating a unique niche and setting her apart from everybody else. This is what you can do as well. So we have covered 3 things here. Secret number 1, the new model of achieving lasting weight loss through understanding metabolic resistance and metabolic dysfunction, how to use your knowledge to become in-demand consultant and a sought-after expert, and also how you can elevate your income 4, 5, 6 times, just like Danny did, just like Natalie did.
now, without further ado, I am incredibly excited to introduce you to the Metabolic Female. This is a first of its kind program. There has been nothing like this out in the world for professionals as of yet. Just like Metabolic Renewal was a first of its kind female specific program for female fat loss and female hormones and endocrinology for the personal trainer, for the individual. This program, the Metabolic Female, teaches you all of that and is a first of its kind certification in female specific metabolism. I want to go through exactly what you get inside the Metabolic Female when you take this certification. So let's get into it now. First of all, you are going to learn the brand new cutting science of metabolism. The fact of the matter is, individuals simply don't know this information. It is not out there. Doctors don't know it. Chiropractors don't know it. Nutritionists don't know it. Personal trainers are clueless about it. No one is understanding this science and applying this science. It is very rare science, cutting edge to the point where it is not yet being learned. You're going to be one of the first people to get this. You're going to learn this through what I call the 5 laws of metabolism. I break this down very simply for you, bucketing all this tremendous amount of new research into 5 simple laws that you will learn to get big time results for your female clients. Metabolic flexibility is the new understanding of metabolism. You do not want a fast metabolism. You want a flexible metabolism. You want your female clients and patients to have a metabolically flexible metabolism. This course is going to teach you exactly how to deliver that for your clients and patients. You're also going to get how to use macronutrients and manipulate the metabolism to keep results going. Let's face it, it's hard to lose weight, but that is way easier than maintaining that weight loss. And that's why you really need to understand macronutrients at a very deep level and how to change the metabolism in a way that keeps up with its constant adaptation. You're going to learn multiple teaching frameworks in metabolism. So not only am I going to teach you frameworks for your own knowledge, you're also going to get frameworks to teach to your patients and clients to make this easy for them. Now, of course, you're getting all of this in metabolism. But then on top of that, you're going to get every single detail, every single nuance that we know, that the science knows about metabolism in the woman. Not only are you going to get the science, but you're going to get my 30 years of clinical expertise working with women and figuring this stuff out. You're going to get the female metabolism from the historical perspective. You're going to get the in-depth physiology of estrogen and progesterone, which I gave you a tiny little taste of today in this training. You're going to understand the menstrual cycle in depth and how to use it for a woman's advantage. You're going to understand how stress in the metabolism is very different for women and how this is a key issue that needs to be addressed, and you're going to know just how to address it. You're also going to understand very clearly how women need to prepare their metabolism before they go into weight loss endeavors and how they can rehab their metabolism after doing damage to it through repeat dieting or this repeat behavior of living a negative Western lifestyle. You're going to understand things like estrogen dominance. You're going to get keys in PCOS and hypothyroid. You're going to understand the 7 different hormone types that women fall into, as well as understanding how to take those hormone types and find each woman's individual hormone type. In this course, you're going to get in-depth information on hormone replacement therapy, as well as oral contraceptive pills and other birth control methods and how they are impacting and or helping the metabolism. You're going to get all my female metabolism frameworks, and you're also going to get all the systems and understanding the psychology behind women and how to make this last for them. There is a huge amount of information in this course. In fact, you are getting 15 hours each of advanced training in both metabolism and specifically female physiology, especially women at every hormone stage of their lives, which, remember, is very different than a man. A man only goes through 2 phases of hormonal change. Women go through 5. You're going to get that in depth in this course. You're going to get 25 plus sessions that have plug and play tools and frameworks to help you reverse metabolic resistance and deliver meaningful, lasting weight loss to your female clients. And I should say fat loss, because that's really what this is about. You will learn the key distinctions between weight loss and fat loss, and between acute weight loss and fat loss, and maintaining that weight loss and fat loss over the long run. This is a critical distinction. And of course, you're going to get the latest science and clinical tools in metabolism and female hormones, plus the in-depth psychology to make it last. This is what you're going to get in this course. I am incredibly excited to be able to offer it to you. I can promise you there is absolutely nothing like it, and it will immediately set you apart in this industry. Now look, one of the things that makes this so powerful that I want you to understand is this. Everyone else, every other certification, every other thing you learn in this industry fails because of one key reason. They treat every single person, every single woman the same. I realized a long time ago you cannot treat people as one-size-fits-all entities. That will fail you every single time. One of the biggest benefits of taking this course and certification is that you are going to learn once and for all how to deliver individualized, functional fat loss protocols for your female clients. Plain and simple, you will never again treat everyone the same. And you will be blown away when you learn this new information, how everyone else is doing it completely different. How would it be if you could really understand how to adjust every protocol, every procedure, every fat loss plan to each and every distinct woman? This is what sets this training apart from any other professional course or certification. Completely individualized female metabolic nutrition. That is what you're getting in this course. Now look, I just covered the basis, the metabolism stuff, the female hormone stuff, but I also want to go through some bonuses that I have for you to round this offer out. First of all, metabolism is something that can become dysfunctional and diseased as it is exposed to the modern day lifestyle, and that includes chronic dieting and exercising. The chronic eat less, exercise more approach has just as many stressful elements as the couch potato approach, and we need to learn how to rehab this metabolism, to undo some of this damage. This is what you're going to get in bonus number 1. I am giving you my metabolic rehab course. You're going to learn everything about metabolic dysfunction, its stages, from compensation to resistance to dysfunction and disease. And you're going to learn how to reset hormones, rebalance the nervous system, replete nutrients, support the thyroid and adrenal health, and the ovarian brain axis. This bonus is valued at $500. Now, with the Metabolic Foundations course, I first offered something similar, not even as updated as this course, years back at $3,000. And so I want to just show you what you're going to get out of this and set up the value for you. This new part, the Metabolic Female, I offered not in its updated form a couple years ago for $2,000. So I've done courses similar to this. And what I've done in this course is I have bundled these two and updated them with all the latest and greatest science and made this a certification. The Metabolic Foundations course was valued at $3,000 back then, and the Metabolic Female course was sold for $2,000 back then. Add on to that the free metabolic rehab course that I just threw in as a bonus, and right now the value of this course is at $5,500. Bonus number 2, however, is the PCOS program. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is one of the most difficult things to treat in women. Almost no one understands it. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know that it's not one thing, but several things. And there are 2 types of PCOS patients. It is incredibly difficult, and you are going to get this program also for free as part of the Metabolic Female certification. And this course is also valued at $500. And so now we have the Metabolic Foundations and Female program bundled together, but updated from when I sold it before, plus the bonus of the free metabolic rehab course and the bonus of the PCOS program. And now we're talking $6,000 in terms of value that's being delivered to you in this certification. I'm not done yet, though. We're going to throw in the bonus number 3, because if we didn't give you this bonus, even though this information is already in the program, I am throwing in my menopausal weight loss program as well. This is the best-selling program I have ever done outside of metabolic renewal, and for very good reason. This client base, this patient population, is one of the more difficult ones to deal with, and they are hungry and wanting a solution. It is no wonder this became such a valuable program. And the menopause program, which goes through all 3 stages of menopause. Menopause is not one thing, it's 3 things. The value of this program is $1,000. And so now you understand the value behind the Metabolic Female, the foundations of metabolism, the in-depth science of female hormones, plus the metabolic rehab program, the PCOS program, and the menopausal program right here are yours. And of course, you're going to get your certification, a certificate of completion that says you have gone through this state-of-the-art training and you are a certified professional in this arena. Now, with a certification like that, I pointed out to you that the value of this is impossible to really put a number on. But you've seen with some of my clients, Danny, for example, went from $23,000 base salary as a personal trainer up to 6 figures from having this certification. And so when we put this all together, the Metabolic Foundations program valued at $5,000. The certification itself, even if we're conservative, I'm going to set that at a value of $3,000. Just to be extra conservative, I really want to show you what you're getting here. Plus the metabolic rehab course, the PCOS program, both valued at $500, and the $1,000 menopause program. This brings the total value now to a $10,000 value in this program. This is what you are getting. I want to tell you one more thing, though, before I show you the incredible offer I'm going to give you today, because you're not going to pay $10,000 for this program. But I do want to show you one other thing, just so you can understand how much goes into this. In my career, I have been lucky to be a sought-after expert and have consulted with many physicians and clinicians and nutritionists to help them with their patients and to teach them this material in a one-on-one fashion. My hourly rate for that work is $700. Now, in a course like this, we're talking approximately 30 hours. So what would 30 hours of consulting at $700 be if you were going to work with me one-on-one to learn all of this information? Well, that's $20,000 that it would cost you to work with me directly to get this information, and that would be just me for that hour, you taking notes furiously, not delivered in an online platform that you can revisit again and again and again. And so I wanted to show you the value behind this program before I introduce you to the cost, because you're not going to pay tens of thousands of dollars for this program. In fact, what you're going to pay for this program is much, much, much less. When I am going to launch this program for good, the cost of this program is going to be $2,000. This is going to be the price point that I release this program to the wider public. However, for this limited time, you're going to get this course for $1,200. All of that value, tens of thousands of dollars worth of value for $1,200. I am so excited to deliver this program to you, and I am especially excited to give it to you at a rate that everyone can afford. This is not something that I want to make out of reach for people. I want you to be able to get this education, get out there, help all the women we can, and I think this is going to be able to allow so many people to take advantage of this. Now look, I realize that even $1,200 for some people is a little bit of a stressful thing. I understand that. And so here's my guarantee. You don't have to pay the $1,200 right now. You can just try this program out. If you get the program and you get in it and you feel it isn't a good fit, and you have actually watched the program and gone through all the material, I will give you a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. All you have to do is take the course, go through the material, and if within 30 days you do not think this has changed your clinical practice, your ability to get results for yourself, for your clients, or your patients, then you get a money back guarantee, no questions asked. Just finish the course. And within 30 days, if you don't think it is a life-changing experience for your professional growth and educational upgrade, then I will give you a full refund. Now, one of the questions you're going to have is, Jade, what about CEUs? Will this qualify for CEUs? We have never had anyone turn down for any CEU approval for any of the courses that we have offered. We're going to give you a certificate of completion as well as provide you with the complete curriculum. All you need to do is submit that to your CEU approval agency, and you are most assuredly going to get CEU units accredited for this course. Like I said, we have never had anyone be turned down for that. You've come to the end of this training. I have told you, hopefully, things that you can use, whether you get the certification or not. But I am hoping you are going to step up and begin to do this work. We need you. We need you to be the voice, not the echo. You know as well as I do that in this industry, everyone is saying the same things. And everyone is saying the same things differently every 5 years. Right now, it's intermittent fasting and keto and all this stuff. And guess what? Next year, it's going to be something different. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of doing copycat medicine and copycat nutrition and Me Too coaching? Be the voice, not the echo. Get an actual expertise. Step up and raise your status and standard in this industry. The industry needs leaders doing this work: individualized medicine, individualized coaching, individualized nutrition, weight loss, and fat loss at a level that we have not seen before. That is what is needed, and we need it now desperately. So now you have a choice. You can keep on doing the same things, gathering this information by bits and pieces everywhere else, or you can get the certification and the material right now with the Metabolic Female certification. There are those who can only hear your voice. This is what I want you to know. You and I could be teaching the exact same thing. And there are going to be people who simply cannot get the information from me. You will say it in a unique way. You will deliver it in your own unique way. And that's how we reach the masses. Each one of you taking this certification is going to be a unique voice in this realm. There are those who need your help. Please step up and do the work for them. I'm so excited you've been here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I promised you all a gift at the end of this. My gift to you is another bonus that is free to you whether you take action in the certification or not. This is the Metabolic Thyroid course. We all know that one of the biggest issues women face as compared to men is issues with their thyroid and adrenal. This course covers both for you for free. Just go to drjade.com/thyroid. Thank you so much for being here. $1,200 gets you in the certification. Just click the link to get started and take a look at all the testimonials that are to come after this presentation. Thanks so much, and I will see you at the next training and offering.